Thank you, Tudor. You know, for many people, this year's election seems more contested and contentious than any other we can remember. And it certainly is a hard time in America, with divisions running deep. But history does remind us that on many occasions, the race for the White House was hotly contested, and the Republic has survived and thrived through it all. Matter of fact, the fourth presidential election held in the United States resulted in an electoral college tie between then Vice President Thomas Jefferson and former New York Senator Aaron Burr. For the first of only two times in American history, the House of Representatives decided the next president. Now, Alexander Hamilton, the country's first Secretary of the Treasury, was no fan of Jefferson, but he had even greater animosity toward Aaron Burr. So Hamilton lobbied for Jefferson, and that ultimately helped Jefferson earn the presidency. While his work for Jefferson might have earned him the respect of many, it also earned him a spot in one of the most famous duels in American history. On the dueling grounds of Weehawken, New Jersey, in July 1804, Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton faced off. Burr's bullet took Hamilton's life, but as Hamilton died that day, so did Burr's future. Hamilton, meanwhile, was lionized for his service to the country and is, or at least should be, still read and studied today. Now, half a century later, in 1860, Republican Abraham Lincoln's victory essentially tore the country apart. Just a few months after Lincoln's victory, the first shots of the American Civil War were fired. In 1912, former President Theodore Roosevelt, fresh off a 10-month African safari, orchestrated one of the boldest attempts to reclaim the White House. His friend and the incumbent President William Howard Taft had disappointed many in his party. So much so that Roosevelt decided to challenge Taft in the Republican primary of 1912. Now, he didn't win the nomination, but he also didn't surrender. He bolted with his supporters to form the Bull Moose Party, a party focused on a number of wide-ranging reforms. And in the ultimate presidential election, Roosevelt wasn't able to beat the Democrat Woodrow Wilson, but he far outperformed President Taft, who only received 8 electoral votes that year. Now, in the weeks and days running up to tonight, we've heard a lot of questions about when the results of tonight's election will finally be announced. I'm reminded of the presidential election of 1948. Then, all the elite opinions suggested that President Harry Truman, from my home state of Missouri, would be packing his bags. Truman, you'll remember, was never elected president. He took the Oval Office after America's longest-serving president, Franklin Roosevelt, died in office. Now, the media was so certain that Truman would lose to Thomas Dewey that they printed newspapers headlined, "Dewey defeats Truman on election night." Turns out that elite opinion and media predictions were both wrong that night. Of course, many of us will remember the election night chaos that ensued in November of 2000. Then, a ballot counting crisis in Florida meant that recounts and lawsuits took place for weeks following election night. It wasn't until the United States Supreme Court finally ruled to settle the matter that handed the keys to the White House to then Governor Bush. Now, the 2000 election also marked the first time in 112 years that a president was elected by winning the Electoral College, but without winning the popular vote. Now, that happened again during the election of 2016. America is a resilient country. Every generation has faced challenges, and this year has certainly brought many challenges to the American people. But if history is any guide, America will find a way to survive, and we will thrive.